Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys all had an amazing New Year's Eve and a happy New Year. So this is my first video to kick off 2022 and I'm starting off with something very different that I've never done before on my channel. And at first I was thinking that maybe it might throw you guys off just because I don't do videos like this, but I wanted to start incorporating books into my YouTube channel because for the past 4 or 5 months I've really gotten into reading, and it's something that I've really learned has relieved my anxiety completely. For those of you guys that don't know, I've talked about it on my blog and stuff, but I do have anxiety disorder, but it's gotten a lot better, but sometimes lately it's just been super bad. So I found that reading books actually just takes my mind off of everything, and that started my love for reading. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my favorite books of 2021. Again, there's not a ton just because I didn't start reading for the whole year. I just started reading back in September or something like that. But I wanted to share them with you guys because these are books that I would highly recommend and I'm obsessed with. I would read again. They are so good. So I do a bunch of different videos on my channel, and I kind of just try to incorporate anything that is fun for me to do or talk about, or things that I think that you guys will like also, and it's just a little bit of everything. So I do lifestyle, beauty, fashion, travel, you name it, and now we're doing books. So if you guys are new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy reading and you like these kinds of videos, and please let me know down below in the comments if you guys have any good book suggestions for me. And anyways, I'm gonna shut up, let's get right into the video. So these are some of the books that I loved. The first one I want to talk about, which is my absolute favorite, I actually had my mom read this too because it was just so good. I feel like everyone should read it. This is called The Things We Cannot Say by Kelly Rimmer, and this is a story that takes place in Poland during World War II. First, I do want to say, obviously, well, not obviously, but I am not a huge reader on World War II books and stuff. That's just not my genre, I thought. But after I read this book, it was so interesting to learn about the things that were happening during World War II that I actually read another book and another book about World War II. So I guess sometimes you just have to give books a chance before you judge a book by its cover. But this takes place, like I said, in Poland during World War II, and it's about a girl named Alina and her love, Tomas, and they kind of get separated throughout the war when it starts taking over Poland, and it's just, honestly, it's a really good love story. It's so inspiring, and you get to see what the point of view from Polish people in Poland had to go through, and just kind of how their life was at that time and what they're experiencing. This book, what's really interesting about this is it actually splits from Poland to the modern world back in America, and you kind of see these two girls' stories go together, but you're not sure why. And obviously I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but the story is just so well written. It keeps your interest the entire time, and you really want to find out the connection between these two people and why it keeps going back and forth. But both stories are completely interesting, and it's also really educational, and I loved it. She's such a descriptive writer. I want to read more books by Kelly Rimmer, and I would highly recommend this book. It was so good. I wanted to start off with this because this was my favorite book that I read in 2021. Next, I guess I'm going to stick with the same genre since I loved that World War II book so much. I actually got this book from my grandpa, and this is called Unbroken by Laura Hildenbrand. This is the same author that wrote Seabiscuit. It is a very thick and lengthy book. It took me a few to read, but I absolutely loved it. This is about Louis Zamperini, who was an American in the Air Force at the time of World War II. So now you get a perspective of America, but you also get the perspective of when he goes to Japan and all of that happens and unfolds, and the things that he had to overcome, and everything that he experiences while becoming a prisoner of war during World War II. This is literally such a good book. Again, I would highly recommend this. Even if, like I said, you don't like World War II books, just give this book a chance. It's actually amazing the things that this man had to overcome, and this is a true story, by the way. Louis Zamperini was actually an Olympic runner, and then he goes into the Air Force, and you just see all the things that he has to do when his plane goes down and he becomes a prisoner of war, and just the survival tactics that he had and the hardships that he had to go through during that time is actually amazing. And again, this is really educational too if you aren't really familiar with World War II, which I was not before these two books, but this is such an inspirational story and I loved this. Okay, moving on from World War II books because not everyone is going to be excited about those, but I just want to share those with you guys because I really feel like, I promise, if I can get into a World War II book, so can you. Next, I wanted to share with you guys the book that I just recently read. I actually finished this last night. This is The Woman Outside My Door by Rachel Ryan, and this was such a good thriller. Honestly, it kept my attention the entire time to where I had to wake up early this morning and I literally stayed up till 3 in the morning because I needed to know what happened. It was so good. It's a easy read, but it's not like too easy. It's not amateur. It's really, really good, and it's basically about this woman named Georgina and her husband and her son Cody. They're kind of going through some things as a family, and all of a sudden her son says, "Hey mom, this lady gave me some candy in a bush. She said she wants to be my new granny." And the mom's like, "Your grandma passed away." So she's also dealing with her mom just passing away, and she kind of thinks that her son is just like grieving and imaginative. You know, he's a 7-year-old boy, so she doesn't really think anything of it until things start getting crazy and random phone calls come to the house, and she just feels something uneasy, like kind of like a parental instinct that something is off. Her husband doesn't really believe her, but honestly, it's a page turner. It's really, really good. And what I liked about this is a lot of mystery books or thrillers, even when you get to the end, it answers like the main question, but they never answer like every single question that you had like going throughout the book, which this at the end literally answered every single question and why things happened and how they were happening when you were reading it and didn't know. Like, it's really, really good, 10 out of 10. Next, I read The Silent Sister by Diane Chamberlain. Again, this is another mystery or thriller, and this book was also really, really well written, and I really, really liked it. So it's about this girl named Riley, and her father passes away, so her mother also passed away, and now it's just her and her brother. Her brother's kind of like an outcast and standoffish and doesn't really want anything to do with her. And back in the day, her sister was like all over the news, and it was a huge deal in their hometown that she committed suicide. And basically throughout the book, she realizes that her sister really didn't commit suicide, so she has to go through all, by the way, that's not a spoiler, that's literally in the back of the book, so don't worry. But so she realizes that her sister actually is alive, and throughout the time she uncovers all these family secrets and figures out like about her sister and why everyone said that she committed suicide when she's alive, and why she's basically like under a new identity now. And this is a page turner as well. Really, really good. It wasn't my favorite book, but it was in my top 5, obviously, so I would give this like an 8 out of 10. I really, really liked it. It was an easy read, and it kept my interest the entire time because you really want to find out like why her sister said that she committed suicide. So everything that you find out about the family too, it's really crazy, and it just makes you want to keep reading more. So this is really, really good. Another thing I want to point out about this book is like throughout the book when you're reading it, you really think that you're going to figure out the plot twist and you're like on to the author and you've totally figured out. I promise you don't, and that's what I love. I hate when the twist is like too easy to catch on to. This was definitely not one that you can, so I really liked that. Another book that I absolutely loved was The Perfect Ruin by Shanora Williams. So this is about a girl named Ivy who had a tragic childhood, which you don't know what the tragic childhood was, but she's basically in counseling. She's just making bad choices, and she figures out finally the woman's name that ruined her childhood. So she basically goes to Miami and she discovers this lady named Lola, and who's the one that ruined her family and her childhood and ruined her life basically. So she plans to completely ruin this lady's life, who's in like an elite circle in Miami. She runs a huge charity. She's very, very wealthy, has a perfect husband in their eyes, and basically she's just planning to befriend her, and Lola doesn't really know about Ivy, so she's just befriending her, joins the charity, really tries to like get into her circle so that she can like have this big plot and just basically ruin her life. But then she ends up falling in love with Lola's husband, which kind of takes a turn for the worse and ruins her whole plan. And yeah, this book was really, really good. It's very interesting. This one, unlike The Silent Sister, though, towards the end, you kind of do figure out the plot, but it's still really, really good. And again, this answers all your questions, and it was really good. The only thing that I would say about this book is the description of the characters. I feel like the author will say one thing about the characters and then she says another thing like down the road, and it completely like, you know when you're just like visualizing a book and the characters in your head, it kind of throws you off. That was the only thing I didn't like, but I really, really liked this book. It was, again, an easy read, and I would highly recommend this. Next, I'm sure you guys have heard of her. If not, I read In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. This is a famous North Korean girl. She's done talk shows and interviews all over the world, but it's basically about her journey from North Korea to freedom. It shows the risk that she had to take to get to South Korea and into freedom. And what I really liked about this book is it is truly inspiring. All the things, again, just like the Unbroken book, like I love inspiring true stories, and this is actually written by her and her story. And it's devastating. I actually cried. It's so sad. It takes a lot for me to cry during a book or a movie, but I did. It's honestly so devastating, the things that the people in North Korea have to go through and what she had to go through and all of the sadness and just the courage it took to actually write this book from her point of view. I really, really was impressed by that. And also, it really gives you an education and an insight to what North Korea and living there is actually really like, and how cruel it is, and just how, honestly, how crazy they are, and how the leaders and to live under the Kims, and how it is there. So I really, really liked this book just because of how inspiring it was. I would give this book a 10 out of 10 if you're looking for like a biography type book, but like it's really good. I read this in about a day because it was so good. It keeps your interest, and I loved it. This was a very good read. So that is it for my favorite books of 2021. Let me know down below in the comments also if you guys want to see like a monthly favorites or what I read this month, and like a review basically of the good and the bad of the books that I read. And yeah, I guess we're just gonna have a book club here also on my YouTube channel. But if you guys love it, I love it. I love reading. I hope you guys enjoy these videos, and if you do, thank you so much. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye guys.